How's it going, everyone? I want to talk about what I see is a big problem among people trying to lose weight. And I think the big thing is balance, right? Everybody's like, oh, well, you got to have balance. You got to do, you got to have your Cheetos and your junk food and the food that you love. And I think the truth of the matter is that balance is incredibly overrated. You don't need balance, right? And I just inherently, weight loss is not balanced, right? You are actively going into a deficit, a caloric deficit, to achieve weight loss, to change your body composition. So it's not balanced, right? And if you want to be someone you have never been before, you need to be able to do things that you've never done before. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes you won't have that junk food. You can't always fit it in. If you have, your Eggo waffles and syrup in the morning because you love those, you're not going to be able to have Cheetos later on because you already made a compromise with your macros and calories. I think the truth is that what you need is a system. It doesn't have to be my system, right? It doesn't have to be nutrition coaching from me. It doesn't have to be nutrition coaching from anybody, in all honesty. Sure, it can help, but what you need is a system. What you need is a standard that you have to meet, right? Like, for example, big thing, steps. You have to get your steps in, right? If you don't get your, like, obviously, yeah, you can lose weight without getting a ton of steps. You could lose weight getting 1,000 steps a day, but it wouldn't necessarily be a super healthy lifestyle. And I think you can absolutely have a healthy lifestyle while losing weight. Obviously, it's not something you're going to maintain. It's healthy with the aspect of you looking at it that you're not going to be doing it forever, right? It's healthy because it helps you get to a healthier body composition or even just a body composition that you want to have, right? Maybe you're competing. Obviously, like getting to that low isn't healthy, but you can do it in a healthful way. The thing is that you need to have a standard, right? So for steps, 10,000 steps a day is like the classic. It doesn't have to be 10,000. Your body doesn't know whether you're doing 10,000 or 10,001, right? It just burns calories, right? But having that number and saying, I'm going to hit this number every day, no matter what. Like, obviously, you know, act of God emergency, yeah, you're not going to hit it. But like, you're genuinely going to hit it every single day, right? So that means if it's 9 o'clock at night and you only have 8,000 steps, that means you're pacing around the house until you hit 10,000. And that might sound obsessive, but it's not. It's just consistent. You're setting a goal, you're setting a standard, you're setting a system that will, if you follow it, help you achieve weight loss, right? Simple as that. The problem is that too many people are just trying to have balance and trying to be like, oh, well, I just played video games today and, chilled and, ordered pizza and, it's just fine. It's Saturday. Man, fuck Saturday. The weekend should be the exact same as the weekdays. Obviously, if it's something like your college graduation and you're having a party, that's something that's, you're probably only going to have a college graduation once unless you go to grad school, in which case it's twice. Okay. I think I think we can manage one day out of your entire life and do it, but we're not going to be doing every Saturday is a cheat day, right? We don't need a cheat day, right? We need a system that is in place every single day, right? Might sound ridiculous, but it's not, right? And what I'm not telling you is that you can never have the foods you love again. First of all, you can probably make them higher protein, higher fiber, lower calorie than you think. But what we absolutely can do, right, is set calorie goal, protein goal, and maybe a fiber goal, right? And then maybe a minimum fat, and the rest of your calories can come from a decent amount of carbs. What we can do is we can set that standard, and we can hit it in a million different ways, right? Like, let's say you're saying, hey, like, it's my girl's birthday and she wants to have pizza. Okay, all right, cool, great. So for breakfast, you're gonna have an apple, maybe a protein bar or something, or a little protein shake. And then for lunch, you're gonna do a low carb sandwich with just turkey meat and some vegetables in it. And you're gonna be like, that's like so little food, so little calories. I'm like, yeah, well, you want to have pizza, right? Like the only way we can fit it in is by doing a little bit less and making compromises, and we can still fit your system. And then if you ask me, like, oh, well, can I just have a cheat day? The answer is you can do whatever you want. But if you have a cheat day, I'm telling you, it happens with me. I'm a relatively disciplined kind of guy. But every time I take a day where I just forget about the system, it always ends up bleeding into the next 2 days at least. The next day I'll wake up, not even think about the damn system, not even think about tracking my calories. And it's the same, it's even worse in a lot of my clients. You need to set a system, and that system will be in place every day until you hit your goal. Obviously, as I said, there's an event that is once in a lifetime, right? I'm not talking about it's your dog's birthday. Okay, that's going to happen every year, probably for the next hopefully like 15ish years, maybe I mean it depends on the breed, right? But I digress. I'm talking about something like it's your wedding. Sure, we can drop the system for your wedding. But guess what? Guess what happens the next day? We're getting back on the system, and we're not going to hop off the system because your son got a 90 on his math test. That's he can do that again next week. Okay. Set the standard. My recommendation for what that system and that standards are step goal, protein goal, calorie goal, fiber goal. If you want to go crazier or if you want to go a little bit simpler, that's fine. But what's important is that the system works, right? So if you want to say, oh, I don't really necessarily want to do a fiber goal, I think let's just do like a vegetable goal. Like have a ton of vegetables. It doesn't necessarily have to be a fiber goal, right? Because there are some vegetables that are really great, but just don't have a lot of fiber, right? They're more water content, right? Like I think cucumbers don't necessarily have a lot of fiber in them, but it's a lot of water, so it's great, right? I usually say fiber goal just because it usually ends up leading towards fruits and vegetables. But you could absolutely do a green vegetable, requirement. Like I have to have 3 servings of green vegetables, right? It could be that, right? You can put your own little spin on the system, but it has to be a system, right? Generally, I'm going to recommend you find a good, reputable coach online and either watch their free content. There's tons of free content, tons and tons. This is technically free content, right? I'm not charging you for this. But there's tons and tons of like nutrition plans. It doesn't necessarily have to be a meal plan. Watch out with meal plans because there are a lot of crappy ones. I remember my mom brought home, mind you, her son's a trainer, but my mom one time brought home, or maybe she printed it. It was on this little crappy piece of paper, and it was this meal plan, and it was 3 meals. I think it was 3 meals and a snack. It wasn't like spread out across. It wasn't like different meals every week. No, no, no. It was one piece of paper that had breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, or dessert. And I forget exactly what it is. You have to forgive me. I'm sure someone can like look it up. But like the breakfast was like 2 pieces of whole wheat toast and a can of tuna. Then the lunch was like it was weird. It was like pickled beets and like tomatoes and like a kale salad, right? And then for dinner, it was something weird. Like it was like 6 ounces of chicken and more pickled beets or whatever. And then for dessert, it was like you can have a black coffee and 1 scoop of ice cream. And I was just like, first of all, there are numerous nutrients that off the top of my head I can say aren't included in this diet that you're supposed to do every day until you lose weight. And second of all, right? And my mom was like, oh, wait, but it says it's proven to lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, because there's like fucking 800 calories in the whole thing. Obviously, you're going to lose weight. There's like 800 calories, and half of them are from the 1 scoop of ice cream. You could replace the tuna with chicken or turkey or something, and it would be the same thing. It's not magical, right? Like it's the same thing. I remember I'm kind of shitting on my mom. I'm sorry, but she used to buy Slim Fast all the time, right? Those little freaking, red bottles, and it says on the bottle. I don't know if it still says it, but it said clinically proven to lose weight. If you replace it with your meals, unless there's battery acid in the damn shake, it's not just going to burn belly fat, stubborn belly fat, with you drinking it in addition to the dog shit diet you already have. Just get a system, right? Get a system of how many steps I'm going to do in a day, how much protein I'm going to eat. I'm going to recommend, if you want me to, give you my personal recommendations, let's go with like 70% of your body weight in pounds in protein. So let's say you weigh 200 pounds, right? That's around 140 grams of protein. Does it have to be on the dot? No, you can go a little over. If you got like 138, I wouldn't stress about it. But the goal is every day you are trying to hit 140. And if you don't, you are acknowledging that. You are acknowledging that I failed today. Because what's going to end up happening, what happens all the time with weight loss journeys, is that you fall off the system, or you never had a system in the first place. And then at the end of the week, or whenever you weigh yourself, you're like, I gained weight, or I didn't lose weight at all. Have been doing everything so hard. I've sacrificed so much. I've compromised so much. And you're just lost. And you're like, I'm just going to try and do the same fucking thing next week. No, 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 no. Every time you fall off the system, you need to acknowledge it. That way, when you weigh yourself, you're like, I didn't hit my protein like 3 days in a row, and I've been slacking on my steps. I've been getting 7,000 steps in a row, multiple days, and just saying that that's close enough. No, it's not. It's not close enough. We need to hit it, and if we don't hit our standards, we acknowledge it. So that when we lose weight, we realize, shit, I know exactly why I didn't lose weight. Because the most frustrating thing in weight loss is feeling like you kicked ass and not knowing where you messed up because you weren't tracking your food. Invest in a food scale. If you can afford one, invest in a coach, a reputable one, not one you find off Instagram, preferably. Not that the one's all on Instagram. I mean, there are a lot of good ones who have Instagram, but get one that, like, if they put out some free content, watch it and see if it's professional enough, right? Um, Try to implement some things. And the big thing is just set that standard, right? It doesn't have to be anyone's, but it can be. It should be. Any good system should work for anyone. And don't let people gaslight you into thinking that you are incapable of losing weight. I saw this short the other day that is just so incredibly immoral. It was a short of some lady saying, no, if you have PCOS, you actually can't lose weight, and eating less doesn't work for you like it does for other people. And it's immoral because it's false, and it's making people think that they genuinely, like, their bodies don't work like everyone else's and that they can't lose weight. You're literally telling people that they can't make progress. Obviously, she then went on to say that, like, oh, I'm actually a registered, nutrition coach for women with PCOS. And I'm like, okay, here comes the spiel. Here comes the spiel. And then she's not going to post, she didn't post any studies in the description. And I knew she wasn't going to when I clicked on the description because she was wrong. And I've actually read the research. You absolutely can lose weight with a calorie deficit if you have PCOS, if you have any of these diseases. I promise you, a calorie deficit will make you lose weight. It might make it a little harder, right? Having a condition, it might make it a little harder, right? Obviously, like, if you have a condition that spikes your hunger, then yeah, it's going to be harder to achieve a calorie deficit. But when you do, you will lose weight. Don't let people gaslight you into thinking that you can't make progress, because you need to believe that you can make progress and you can make a change, or it's not going to happen. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, please put them down below. If you want to hear me talk about anything, please let me know. Thank you guys for listening to me rant.